Hey, Liam, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good, brother. What's happening?
Not much. Just chilling in snowy Toronto.
Are you got a cold too?
Like most, adjusting to the weather. So, yeah, I got a bit of a cold.
Damn. That's right, because I keep forgetting that it's like your winter over there and it's our summer here. So it's like all backwards.
Yeah. I mean, that's half why we're looking forward to coming over in February.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot warmer then, obviously. So, yeah. Well, dude, it's awesome to have you on the show again, man. It's been a little while since we've spoken. I mean, last time was you're about to hit the road down here, but I ended up missing the gig, which really sucked because I was sick. That week, you were meant to be down here. Yeah, man. And I was like Homer Simpson on the way to Duff Gardens, and I just I missed out. So, yeah, I heard it was killer, though.
Oh, dude, last tour we had down there was epic.
What was the best and worst thing about that tour? Because it was a long run. Weren't you doing the van thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the absolute best part of it, that we got to actually tour Australia the same way that we tour Canada, and how we saw it, how Australian bands actually do it, because that's it's cool, for a band to fly around and do all those things, that's crazy. But after a while, once we'd kind of toured Australia as much as we had, we were like, no, man, this is so much like Canada. We need to rip this in a van and actually see what it's like. Because for us, we love bringing, bands from the UK and bands from all over the place to, see what it's like to actually tour Canada. You know what I mean? Where you play, you can play all the major cities, but when you play, the small towns, that's when you get, the real sense of, what a country's about. And, kind of how hard, people party and, that whole vibe. So I feel like that was, for us, the best part. The only downside, though, was because it was so much driving, we had to, obviously hit the road at 6 a.m. every day. So so we were pretty beat in that run, just trying to keep up with the schedule. But it's boo-hoo, who cares? Every time we would show up to the show, it would be the gnarliest, playing Woy Woy, or you know what I mean, these spots that we'd never even heard of. You show up and there's kids ready to go nuts. You're just oh, a couple hours in a van of no sleep is definitely pales in comparison to getting to rip with these kids.
That's why I think there's a lot of bands that have done those runs, have gone out of their way to do that, like King Parrot, Parkway Drive, all those bands have done those. And that's why I think they're so big. They go out of their way to go places where these kids usually don't see bands at all. And that's what builds them up. I think that was awesome you guys did that. I'm just bummed on you.
No, well, and it made us feel great knowing that it's that's sort of the same vibe. Those Parkway guys, we definitely have, the same vibe as those dudes, where you're just yeah, you gotta go out there and play these places, because when you're from those places, all you wish is that bands would one day come through. You know what I mean? So you're just well, yeah. So to then be given the opportunity, it's oh, well, you gotta take advantage of it.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, of course, you're going to be coming back with Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. I mean, that's going to be huge, man. I mean, are you buddies with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've obviously known Frank forever from Gallows days. And then, we toured, almost the whole world with those guys. And then I met, all the other dudes from just having been on tour in the UK and all that. So definitely, know all the whole band and crew. So I can't wait to rip it up with them.
By the looks of things, also, you've got one day off between Adelaide and Brisbane up this way. Any chance of a sneaky Bat Sabbath show somewhere along the way?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we we didn't have anything planned. I'd love to figure out something to either in Adelaide or in Brisbane. I mean, we love Brisbane, to even just have a day to hang out at Tin Guitars and, kind of go to all the spots would be epic. So I don't know. We'll figure something out. You know us. We don't like days off. We like having fun.
Well, man, I'd be totally up for that. But, yeah, there's a few cool places in Brisbane to hang out, like Tim's. There's Netherworld now. I don't know if you went there. It's got all like the old arcade games and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there's like a crazy, my buds were telling me about this like awesome burrito bar.
Yeah.
Sells like tacos and stuff like that. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But, yeah, so, you know, I like tacos.
I like tacos,
nice,
as mentioned.
We'll sit on a patio and eat some tacos somewhere.
Man, that sounds like a good idea, dude. I like that, man. And, of course, I saw that you started a clothing label called Treadwell. I mean, that seems to be crushing it, dude. I mean, tell us a bit more about that and if we can get it down here.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just online right now. The only place you could get it before was Eureka Rebellion Trading Co. out of Melbourne, but sadly those guys are no more. But I want to try and figure out some Australia stuff just because I get so many orders online from kids. I feel like, again, like-minded people who are looking for, like, you know, fun, posy gear. It has to do with, like, motorcycling. Like, that's just a real, you know, passion of mine. So it's kind of like a motorcycle related. And I know people in Australia, like, love ripping bikes. So I feel like, again, I kind of fit in really well, like, in the whole Australian scene. So, yeah, sadly right now it's just treadwellclothing.com is the only spot you can get it in Australia. But we'll try and fix that. We'll try and figure that out. World domination, right?
Absolutely. Well, dude, of course, the last Cancer Bats album, Searching for Zero, came out in 2015, and I'm sure you're sick of this question. I'm sorry, but are you just working on a new one?
Yeah, we're slowly but surely working on some new stuff. Obviously, we took some time off, so we're slowly, like, getting back into it, but working on some jams. So hopefully next year, there's definitely nothing, like, you know, there's things in the works, but nothing concrete, like dates-wise or anything planned. But who knows? Maybe we'll have like a new song or something we can jam at those Rattlesnake shows.
That would be awesome, man. That would be awesome. I mean, I mean, everyone's waiting. I mean, no pressure.
No pressure, just saying.
Just saying, you know, counting off the calendar, you know. No, it's going to be sick, man. Of course, you're also going to be doing 10 years of Hail Destroyer next year as well. I mean, I find that pretty crazy considering I remember the day that I unpacked that album from when I was working my old store. I mean, that was like, what, 10 years ago almost? Oh, no, it's insane. Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about it?
Well, it's funny because it's been a bit of like a reality check. Like a lot of people were just like, no, that was 10 years ago. And I was like, yeah, kind of like, sorry. But no, it's cool. It's like, I think for us, like that album was such like a huge turning point. So to even see that as like, you know, like we were literally homeless when we put that record out. So to even go from the fact that we like have places to live and like, you know, we're like, lots of us are married and have longtime girlfriends, and our drummer has a kid, you know, like it's cool to kind of look at that like span of like things that have happened and like everything being positive from that, you know, kind of like center point. So for us, it's just like going to be such an amazing celebration and more like a huge thank you to just everyone who has, you know, kind of been with us for this last 10 years and how like crazy that is. What's even more nuts is like, we even went to, like, we came to Australia on our first record. You know, like, we were, like, brought over on the fact that people dug birthing, and there was enough kids that were into that record that, like, you know, Dave Batty wanted to put a tour together and, like, bring us out. And we toured with D's Nuts, like, back in 2007. So it's, like, even to think of that in our relationship, like, with Australia is, like, way too humbling and crazy and, like, amazing. So I'm really excited that we get to, like, also kind of share in that. I know this won't be, like, a Hail Destroyer tour, but it'll still be, like, within that same sense of, like, how crazy those things are. Because, I mean, like, I'll be honest, I wrote probably half of the lyrics to that album while I was in Australia, if you think about that.
Wow,
yeah, because it was while we were on that tour. So I wrote, you know, songs like Regret. Like, Regret was definitely written in, like, in Australia, like, at a coffee shop because I was, like, jet-lagged and couldn't sleep. And it's like, that stuff is definitely nuts.
I find that really interesting, man. Sounds like you guys have definitely got a stronger connection with Australia than what we all thought, really.
I definitely have always said that we have, like, I think, like, right when we first, you know, came over and started meeting everybody who was, like, working the record, like Stu Harvey and, like, his whole crew, we were just, like, right off of that, like, you guys are our vibe. This is totally, like, where we're at. So those early days, like, meeting Dave Batty and meeting all those dudes, and even, like, the tour we had done right before we got to Australia was with Parkway, and we were just like, oh, these guys are rad, like, you know, super, super fun and up for having, like, a crazy time, but at the same time, like, totally mellow, really nice dudes. You know what I mean? Like, we were just like, oh, well, this is, like, we can definitely, like, you know, see eye to eye with these guys.
On the opposite side of that, I mean, where have you toured where it's sort of, you've found it's been quite hard or quite difficult due to either, like, communication breakdown or, you know, language barrier, or just people are just crazy?
Between us and Australia, or?
No, just in the world, man, because you're saying that how chilled we are here, and we really, you know, has there been a place where you've been to in the world where it's been a little bit more difficult?
You know, obviously there's been some things, like, across the world where I find we show up to some places that have only just started having shows, like when we start to go to Eastern Europe and some of those spots, and you're like, man, you realize, like, how lucky you are to even, like, live in a country that, while we do have some problems, you know what I mean, it's like where, you know, the threat of having, like, you know, like, fascists and, like, neo-Nazis, like, coming and, like, you know, firebombing your show is, like, a real thing to, like, kids in other countries, like, especially, like, in Eastern Europe. And you're just like, man, like, we you know, have had it so much easier in terms of just, like, being a punk. You know what I mean? And you, like, talk to my friends in, like, the Czech Republic, and they, like, tell me about, like, being sent to hospital from, like, fighting with, like, Nazis, and you're just like, that is so fucked. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that we don't even have to, like, worry about. And it's like, or at least we don't have to anymore. Like, I feel like that whole scene has been, like, kind of stomped out here in Canada, and it's like, oh man, I can't even imagine, like, what that must be like.
That's intense, man. Yeah, he's stories. I mean, yeah, we got it lucky down here too, man. Everyone's pretty chilled out, you know.
Yeah,
it's the way to go, man. But I'm definitely keen to catch you guys, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes in Brisbane on February 8th at the Zoo. All the other tour dates, I'll post those for you guys. But I hope you guys have a great Christmas and New Year. And until then, man, stay safe, brother.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for doing the interview, and I'll see you next year. Take care, man.